Okay, I would say that we can start. There is few persons still coming, but we can start this Space Week 2022. First of all, welcome. My name is Marco Falsetti. I am the APRE director, and I really welcome you in this edition 2002 that should have been in 2021 in principle. According to the usual schedule of this Space Week, you know that was not possible last year to organize one thing like that. So the decision was to postpone to the year after. So we are shift a little the usual frequencies of this Space Week. But that is another important point because I really welcome you today again in presence at the Space Week. And that is something that is particularly relevant for all of us, despite, as you can see, some elements from the post-COVID still remain in the meeting room, but I'm sure that hopefully this will disappear in the coming times. So thanks to you, thanks to the people who are connecting by remote, and thank you to all the speakers that will be part of this discussion during these 2 days of conference. As you know, we will start today with the first part of the conference, let's say dedicated to the work program 23-24 of space. So we are going to present some things about the new work programs, and clearly this is an opportunity to welcome and to thank you also the colleagues from the European Commission that will support us during this kind of presentation, and during all other presentations where Commission clearly and the different services of the Commission will play an outstanding role. So thanks to them, as usual, Space Week is based on that, on their contribution, and thanks to the other European Commission. I think that there is. I will try to avoid a little of a return. Sorry. And thank you to other European dimension that as part of this Space Week, and I'm referring to the Cosmos project, that is the project that supports the activity of NCP, the national counterpoint of Horizon, in particular, as far as concerned the space part of the program, and the Enterprise Euro Network, that is another important player of this and traditional player of this Space Week. So from my side, I'm going to address you a couple of points, but as usual, I am used to thank the staff of ASI and APRE for the organization of that at the end of the meeting, but this is not possible in this kind of conference, so I had to address to them again the thanks for the organization of the Space Week that is very, very, at least for us, APRE, a big effort to organize, and thanks to all of them, to both the staff. From my side, just a few words about the situation around us that can give a sort of contextualization of the Space Week. You know that this is the first Space Week under the Horizon Europe new program. The last edition was still under the umbrella of Horizon 2020, the former program. And many things are changed. Many things you know already, because I'm sure that despite we have 3 years of stops for Space Weeks, the life is coming. You have already experienced the new work program, to 21st-22 of space. You have already experienced the novelties of Horizon Europe as overall program, framework program. Well, what is the situation from a space point of view? I would say the idea behind a correct lecture of what's going on today for me remained the word complexity. 3 weeks ago, we finished, less than a couple of weeks ago, we finished our conference, the annual conference of APRE, and this year's the message was about complexity, how to deal with this complex scenario around us. And this is something that's very effective, very clear also for the space part. We have a real complex evolution if you compare the situation from Horizon 2020 to Horizon Europe. We have, for example, a complexity in the structure of the space allocation in the frame of the framework program. You know that with the creation of a cluster 4, we have put together space, digital, and industry has completely changed, let's say, the comfort zone that we experienced in the past. And that is, again, an element of complexity, because the integration between these three elements is not so simple to manage. And probably we are not to do the error to say, okay, we have been put together, but we will continue to stay alone, think space as space, digital as digital, and industry as industry. No, this is not exactly what the Commission is asking us. The concept of integration is an important problem. There is a complexity around us, unfortunately. You know very well. The geopolitical situation is becoming complex, more complex than in the past. And that is a problem for a lot of long-term programs. And you know, space is based on long-term programs. It's not something that you can negotiate or to manage in the frame of 6 to 12 months. You need long times, long horizon or broad horizon of time to finalize your strategies. And in this situation, it's quite complex. In particular, if some kind of potential partners may change, and you know what happened in the recent. There is another element of complexity that is another element strongly addressed by the European Commission in the New World Programme, that is a concept of synergies. Already, these synergies among different areas of the program within Cluster 4 is an example of synergies, but there is much more. And this much more is related, for example, to the idea of integration between different programs. If you look to the situation of the current program, the framework program, you know, or you should know at least, that the correct approach to be effective in the participation, in the understanding, in playing a role in the new program means to understand all the scenario. So you are certainly and definitely interested in the space activity. But space activity is not only in the few words in Cluster 4 World Program. It's much more than that. And what you should understand, I'm sure that you have already understand that, a correct approach to the framework program means to have a broader view. So we have other programs around that are incredibly strong connection with your interests and activities. I'm referring to the European Defence Program. I'm referring to the digital program. I'm referring to the space program. That is not framework program. It's another part. So it's a sort of constellation of a lot of complexities. But at the end of the games, and I come back to the original, complexity is opportunities. Our opportunities, sorry. And that is what we would like to provide you, to provide a message to approach the framework program, not just looking at the part of the work program where you can find the flag space on top of that. Because there is much more for you, for your interest in participation to the European RNI activities that has to be found in a different part. So if clearly space is not just in Cluster 4, but is in the other cluster, for example, the Horizon Europe, because you can identify clear topics that are not flagged as space, but where space has an incredibly important impact. That is exactly what we want to pass to you in these 2 days. And on top of that, also, to move beyond the Horizon Europe and to include in this discussion, at least in a very, very light way, but all the other constellations that are the other programs that are relevant for this part. So I would like to stop here because there are so many more qualified speakers than me, and I would like to officially start now and finish my introduction. And we are going to have this first round. We are call welcome session. It's, sorry, it's something much more than a welcome session, because already several content will be passed during this welcome. But in any case, just to stick to, I had the pleasure to pass the words to Dr. Alberto Tuozzi, European Union Affairs responsible. It's clearly, you will explain, Alberto, why the director is not here. Clearly, my personal thanks to you, as a formal thanks to ASI, because as usual, Space Week is part of well, might be interesting, but I know that is fine. So Space Week will never exist without ASI also. Thanks a lot, Alberto.
Thanks, and I will stay just for the scope of the welcome, because I'm here in substitution of the President Giorgio Saccoccia, and the autumn turn was supposed to be substituted by the Director General, Fabrizio Tosone. In fact, you see here the name. I'm not Fabrizio Tosone, and but this is just to give the President and Director General welcome to everybody. Good luck for this very important session and Space Week. We are pleased as ASI to host for the third part, times this event. Thank you for Director Falsetti for the strong collaboration we had. I'm responsible for the relation with the EU for the Italian Space Agency. Just a very little comment. The European Union has decided to build, let me say, some infrastructure, milestone infrastructure, Galileo, Copernicus, GovSatcom, and then we are going to build also secure connectivity and space awareness. This is the building block for which the European Union tried to give to Europe its independence and to favorite the progress of the so-called space economy. By the way, this space economy is foreseen as one of the most growing sector in the world. I see in a decade I've seen some estimate to go to 1,000 of billions as dimension. So something very impressive. However, the research by in the frame of the EU is the needed development area for which Europe can build this infrastructure. So very welcome, and I suggest it's very interesting what you say, that space now is very everywhere, and we will be more and more and more in this way. So indeed, not look at just the traditional, the target space itself, but look around to all the opportunity that space offer in any kind of application infrastructure. So thank you for coming in, and good work for this very important today event. Thank you.
Thank you, Alberto. And in particular, thank you, because it's not easy to jump in the last minutes to replace somebody. But we know, unfortunately, as was already said, Professor Saccoccia today is really has been asked to be in other important meetings. It's very institutional meeting. So, yeah. So thanks a lot. So before to pass to the next, I would like to introduce another, let's say, I would say, reference person since many years in the space activity related to Horizon Europe. Engineer Carmarossa is close to me. I'm sure that you know him quite well because, again, has been since Horizon 2020, he was already part of the delegation of former space program, now the Cluster 4 as far as concerns space. So this is just to introduce you, and we will come back to Augusto. Augusto will play several roles during these space weeks. So welcome, Augusto. And we are now, you want to say something? No, just, it was... Salvatore. Sì. No, era solo per, because you were sitting with us and it was no polite just to start to wait for the end of the session. Now, we should have with us another person that has been with us in a previous edition, and today is with us in a different position, Salvatore Pignataro. Salvatore Pignataro, unfortunately, it was planned to be here physically, but at the end there was some changes for his business fair in Brussels. So Salvatore should be connected by. Oh, Salvatore. Yes, sorry. Now I can see you. Thanks a lot, Salvatore. I hope that you can hear me well. So please, the floor is to you. Salvatore, in this moment, is here as clearly a representative from the Italian permanent representative of Italy to the European Union, and Salvatore clearly is in charge of the space activity. So is what we are used to say is the space attaché to the permanent representative to the European Commission, to the European Union. Sorry, Salvatore, the floor is yours.
Salvatore, non ti sentiamo.
Maybe it's just a problem. Okay, try again, Salvatore. No, it's not a problem of connection, it's a problem of play the sounds in the meeting room.
Test.
Yeah. 2 years of COVID still are not enough to solve technical problems.
Test audio Teams. Test audio Teams.
We got it? Sì. Salvatore, can you hear? It's frozen.
Fa pure freddo qua sotto. Fa pure freddo qui.
In any case,
Test audio Teams. Test audio Teams. E Pignataro, c'è qualche problema da parte del suo PC?
Salvatore, can you try to disconnect and reconnect?
Dice che è probabilmente un problema di Salvatore.
Però sta rappresentanza, sembra strano che ci siano problemi.
Potremmo...
Sì, però sì.
No, c'è il guion del browser.
Ah, c'è il guion? Ok, Salvatore, in the meantime, providing that you can hear me, in the meantime, we try to stabilize the connection with you. I asked the staff if we can check about the other speaker. that is Guillaume Delabrosse, is from European Commission. Guillaume, can you try to be connected?
Can you hear me? 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 You hear me?
Yes, yes.
Too much. Yes, Guillaume, good morning. Can you hear? Can you hear? Ah.
Perché non funziona così male?
So we are trying to fix some problems with the connection. Okay, at least we can. Shall I go with Salvatore or with Guglielmo?
Marco, mi sentite adesso?
Oh, Salvatore, yes.
All right, very good.
Okay, so
Do we try?
yes, let's try. Start again and try. Not try. Do your speech. Cross the fingers.
Okay, let's cross fingers and yeah, I will start. Thank you for the invitation, Marco. Thank you for the organizer, APRE, Director Falsetti, and the ASI colleagues. Again, I regret not to be able to be there. You say that duties at the council yesterday afternoon and in the very next days prevented me to travel. So I have few charts, maybe crossing finger. I will try and share the charts. All right, can you see the charts?
Not yet, but maybe in seconds. Yes, we got it.
Okay, good. All right, so okay, let's try and go through my short presentation. It is not about the work program for research 2023-2024, but it's try and provide a larger view, and I hope it will contribute to better put into context the topics you will talk in these two days. So the space policy, the heading is the space policy of the EU in a changing landscape. The heading may sound pretentious, but the humble aim, as I said, is to provide a short outline of the space policy of the European Union, including, let's say, the fundamentals, what is ongoing, what is in preparation, and what is emerging in the background, as my friend Alberto said at the beginning, in the background of a sector that is undergoing a fast transformation, a changing landscape indeed. And changes will not pose challenges and bring opportunity. So let's go to the fundamentals. So you may know already about that. Let's try and quick recap based on the Lisbon Treaty of 2012, which gave to the EU a parallel competence in space matters. The Commission adopted in the 2016 the Space Strategy for Europe, which still is the basis of the European space policy. And the strategy is based on 4 objectives: maximizing the benefits of space, in particular by promoting the uptake and the dissemination of data and services from the EU space infrastructures, and ensuring the continuity of the operations. Then support the competitiveness of the space sector through public investment in infrastructure, in R&D, and as well by underpinning private investments to a sector. And then third objective is the autonomy and access to space. Here the reference is to the launcher sectors and the preferential use of European rockets for institutional launches. And for objective is the strengthening of the global role of the EU, including through the promotion of international cooperation. So let's go to a more recent chapter of the space policy of the EU, that is the space regulation. The space regulation, it is part of the package of regulations governing the spending of the EU in the current financial framework, the framework 2021-2027. And the regulation, space regulation, established the space program of the EU and the agency for the space program of the EU based in Prague. Space activities of the EU don't start with the space regulation, but the regulation encompasses the most part of them into a single legislative framework, replacing the previous legislation. And the objectives, the basic objective of the space program are consistent with the 4 pillars of the space strategy: maximization of the benefit, competitiveness, autonomy, international role of Europe. In terms of activities, and Alberto mentioned it before, the regulation includes 4 components: satellite navigation with Galileo EGNOS, Earth observation with Copernicus, governmental satellite communication with GovSatcom, and eventually space situational awareness, that is mostly space surveillance and tracking. In addition to those, let's say, 4 vertical components, the space program includes horizontal measures to support access to space and competitiveness. The implementation of the space regulation is ongoing in full swing, and the work program for 2023-2024 of the Commission are almost in place, and includes the development of the 2nd generation of Galileo satellites, activities for the expansion and the evolution of Copernicus, further enhancement of the European capacity on surveillance and tracking through a partnership of 15 member states, and eventually the development of a satellite communication hub under the GovSatcom component. But you know, the space policy of the Union is not limited to the space program, but spans across several other programs. First of all, Horizon Europe, of course. Sorry. Okay. Horizon Europe, which is the main topic of this Space Week, and which will provide you full details on R&D opportunities. And then InvestEU, the investment program of the Union, which includes space in its area of intervention. And I will mention also the European Defence Fund, which aims to maximize European investment in defense R&D and capabilities, and which provides a very high potential for synergy with the space sector. So let's see now what is new or relatively new. We say GovSatcom, it aims to ensure a secure communication for governmental use through a pooling sharing mechanism based on existing capacities, existing space capacity. And the Union has recently raised its ambition on SATCOM by establishing the Secure Connectivity Program, which aims to develop a SATCOM infrastructures. And the infrastructure will offer, on one hand, institutional communication services secured by quantum cryptography, and on the other hand, enables commercial services to be provided by the private and based on high-speed broadband connectivity. In February this year, the Commission submitted to the European Parliament and to the Council the proposal for the regulation establishing the program. In these very days, the legislative process is in its final stages, with the Parliament, Council and Commission confronting their respective positions, including on the budget that is currently an issue, and the parties aim to reach soon a compromise. And the regulation is, as it is likely, is approved by the end of this year or at the beginning of the next. The activities will start with the tendering process, with the preparation of the tendering process for the development of the infrastructure. With a secure connectivity in the area of space traffic management, the Commission and the High Representative for the External Action of the EU adopted in February a strategy backed by the Parliament and the Council that paves the way for the definition of a European approach to STM, to space traffic management for a safe, secure, and sustainable use of space. And the strategy indicates 10 actions in 4 areas, including development of civilian and military STM requirements, reinforcement of the European SSA capacities, including SST, and the implementation of an adequate legislative framework, and finally, the promotion at the global level of the EU STM approach before third countries impose their approaches and rules to us. So we have gone through the basics of the EU space policies, EU space policy, and to the corresponding actions. And I hope you can still hear me and see my charts. Let's see now. Okay, good, thank you. Let's see now how the landscape is changing and how and what is its influence on the EU space policy. The main transformation factors are the one end, the growing role of privates and the commercialization of space products and services, which has changed the business model in the space sector, favoring as well the emergence of new players, and which has brought in some way the space and the digital sector closer together. On the other hand, there is the evidence, sometimes dramatic, that space has an outstanding strategic importance and that the space environment is increasingly congested and contested. So the Union has adapted its policy to this changing landscape. Most of the recent measures of the Commission respond to these changes. I'll provide a few examples. Cassini, for instance. It responds to the need to create valid commercial opportunities in Europe in front to the sustained global growth in the space sector you heard already about. And Cassini is the Union tool to support European space entrepreneurship and gather in a single toolbox pre-existing instruments as hackathons, prize competitions, opportunity for in-orbit demonstration of technologies, accelerators, and last but not least, access to finance opportunities for startup, PME and SMEs, and beyond. On this last point, access to finance, the Commission has the ambition to build an investment fund of 1 billion euro dedicated to space, mostly raising private capital from the market, and that's a novelty in Europe, and it is likely you'll hear more on Cassini later today. And support to the private sector is also taking the form of commercial purchase of data and services to complement those generated by the EU infrastructure. I'll give as fast as I can 2 examples. In October, the Commission informed the Earth observation companies on a new procurement approach that is implementing on behalf of the Union. The system, which takes the name of Dynamic Procurement System, aims to create a commercial source of data for Copernicus, complementary to the traditional sources, opening thus new opportunities for Earth observation companies, both the emerging and the traditional one. The procurement mechanism is simplified, and Commission has the goal to sign the first contract at the beginning of 2023. Something similar is happening in the SSA, in the STM. The Commission has set a forum, the European Industry and Startup Forum, co-managed by the Commission and a consortium of member states which provide on behalf of the Union satellite surveillance services, a consortium that will soon turn into a partnership. And the goal of the forum is to increase the involvement of privates, on activities related to STM. And they are discussing, in analogy to what I described for Copernicus, they are discussing how to organize the purchase on a commercial basis of SSA data to complement the ones produced by the SST assets. And there the ambition is high as well, with possible first invitation to tender already in the second half of next year. Linked to the commercialization aspect is also the strengthening of Commission measures for uptake data and services. I will mention only that Commission is working for preparing an overall strategy for user and market uptake of space data and services. And let's go to the other push to changes in the EU policy. Let's say the most strategic ones related to the geopolitics situation. EU is increasingly dependent on space-based assets and services for its economy, society, security, defense. And for this reason, EU has recognized the needs to enhance the security and defense dimension of the EU space actions. In January this year, the Commission has published an action plan for building synergies between space and defense, and a commission for establishing an observatory of critical technologies for space, defense, and related civil industry. And this aims to support strategic autonomy and technology independence. And stemming from the adoption of the strategic compass that, aims to reinforce the Union policy for security and defense, the Commission and the external and the European Service for External Action are working on a space strategy for security and defense. I will not anticipate the content. I actually don't know, but it is likely that this strategy will address the reinforcing of the resilience of the EU space infrastructure and reinforcing space capabilities in support of security and defense. I see a lot of opportunities coming from here. So let's go to the last chart. So fast transformation unleashes challenges and opportunities. Institutions and companies need to adapt to fast changes and to an increasing complexity. I just gave you an idea of the several articulations of the EU policy, but of course this is a partial representation of the European space sectors. EU policy cohabits with national policies, and Italy is a top player, and with the actions of the European Space Agency. This makes the European space sector stronger but complex and with some risk of fragmentations. We say that there are a lot of measures, actions going on, and a lot of players who implement those actions. Sometimes for the community, space community, is not easy to get oriented and locate the appropriate access points for the various opportunities. And here institutions, national agencies, associations play an important role. Of course, companies are facing growing competitions. With the challenges, transformation brings opportunities. So if the ambitions of the EU policy, current emerging ones, are upheld and honored in the spending in space will increase, as it will increase the public use of space data and services. We may not see a significant increase in the current financial framework, but the discussion on the next one will start soon. We already that opportunities are taking multiple shapes. You'll discuss today grant for research and development. Purchase of data and services will offer new opportunities. And eventually I will conclude by saying that the increase of opportunities and competition can provide a beneficial push towards innovation. So we'll conclude here. Thank you again. And would like to add that the permanent representation willing to support is there to support institutions, industry, research organization, academia by facilitating the conducts and helping with the navigation through the EU institutions. We already do it and try to do it at our best. Don't hesitate to contact us if you think it may be useful for you. Thank you again and enjoy the event.
Thank you. Thank you a lot, Salvatore, for this very, very broad, not so broad, broad view about many issues on a space scenario that has to be part of our conference, because in any case, a conference like that is also useful to share no single details, but overall view about everything is affecting, in any case, the overall scenario of the space, the RNI space, and not only RNI, because the references from you was much more than RNI. Okay, if we want to step forward, I would like to, I saw already on Guillaume on the screen, so I hope that, yes, I guess that you can listen to me according to what I see. So, Guillaume de la Brosse, thanks again to be here, European Commission, Head of Unit in DEFIS for Innovation, Startup and Economics. So we really welcome you. Again, as we discussed when we were in Brussels, we are not going to, or let's say we are not expecting from you a detailed explanation of the Work Program 23-24, but Guillaume, can you help us to, say, give a contextualization of this Work Program? Why the Work Program that will be published quite soon will be as it is? What is behind? Thanks a lot, Guillaume.
I will. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I hope you can hear me now. Perfect. And see me as well?
Yes.
Great, excellent. So I'm very glad to be with you this morning, and I'm sorry not to be able to join you in person, but to be connected. I'm sorry as well for my director, Catherine Cavada, whom you met. She was intending to come, but because of secure connectivity, very intense negotiations with the Council and the Parliament, she has to deal with it in Brussels. I'd like just to start by saying that space indeed is one of the top priorities of the European Commission. It's a top priority because actually it is a key enabler to implement all the three priorities like digitalization, resilience, and greening of economy, green transition. So space indeed is not as such an end, but it's a key enabler. It's a key instrumental for digitalization, resilience, the green transition. And I very much echo what was said previously by you, that we need to put space out of space. Space really matters beyond the space ecosystem, and this is what we need to achieve. So space is a top priority for the Commission, for Commissioner Breton, and we have two main drivers, and I think it's important for you to have that in mind. The driver number one is, I'd say, innovation. There is no competitive innovation. So we need innovation. And here, of course, Horizon Europe is the key leverage to push this innovation. But the second key driver is strategic autonomy. Non-dependency being more and more prominent, especially in the current geopolitics. But what I want to say is that it is about our flagships. It is about our technologies, being able to master our technologies in Europe. But it is about as well mastering standardization, for instance. So we need to be quite up to the challenge when it comes to standards, because we know that it has very deep industrial implications. The one setting the standards is giving an edge to its industry. So that's why Europe needs to really be up to the challenge when it comes to standards. So space is top priority. Now, what does it mean in very concrete terms? So we have, and I think Salvatore mentioned that already very eloquently, we have basically 5 big flagships, the way we want to run space during this mandate till the end of 2027. So priority number 1 is our space flagships. You mentioned that. We have Galileo, we have Copernicus, we need to modernize those big European space flagships. So as you know, Galileo, we are on the top worldwide, but it's important to keep that strategic advantage and to already invest in innovation to ensure that Galileo will remain one of the top positioning system in the world. Copernicus, we are now accelerating the way we want to modernize Copernicus together with the European Space Agency, but we need to accelerate that as well. So that's really priority number one, acceleration of the modernization of our space flagships, plus, and this is a bit of history, developing a new flagship, which is indeed secure connectivity in the field of telecommunication. We see the strategic importance of telecommunication every day. We see that as well in Ukraine, the importance of having a resilient system in telecommunication. So that's why we need to develop a third constellation with the support of the Parliament, the European Parliament, and the Council. Priority number two in space is access to space. Of course, I mean, this is prerequisite as well. If we want to be non-dependent, we need to have access to space. And this needs to be well prepared. We cannot improvise. What does it mean? We need first to consolidate our strategic launches, APRE SPACE, Vega. So that's what we need to achieve. So first consolidating our strategic launches, but we need as well to develop new space transportation solutions to get more flexibility, more responsiveness, and more competitiveness. So that's why we are here pushing forward to both consolidate strategic launches and to develop new space transport solution systems. Priority number three is the need to organize space. And here it's about space traffic management. Salvatore mentioned that as well. We have more and more space debris. So space traffic management is getting critical, and we need to organize space. And that's why we have a strong push on space traffic management, be it on standards or on the development of certain technologies. Priority number four is space entrepreneurship. This was mentioned previously. Indeed, we see the emergence of a space economy with $1 trillion over the horizon 2040, according to certain estimates. So we need to be fully on board. We cannot afford that this will happen on other continents, but not in Europe. And that's why we want Europe to become the central hub for space entrepreneurship. We are putting on the table different instruments like in-orbit validation, in-orbit demonstration to give flag heritage to new space entrants. But we have as well the Cassini initiative with 1 billion investment facility to unlock access to finance, because we know this is challenge number one for many of our startups. So space entrepreneurship is really one of the priority number four. And then priority number five, it's about space and defense. It was mentioned by Salvatore as well. We need to break silos between space and defense. Usually we had huge silos between space and defense, but today it makes no sense to have such silos considering the level of investment that we are putting in space. I think we all agree that it is important to develop defense-related services once we do have space assets, and to ensure that defense can use space and can invest in space as well. So we need to break those silos, and this is indeed the objective of the space strategy for security and defense that we are preparing. And that will have strong implications as well for our industry and for space ecosystem, because as you know, defense ministries are buying services from companies, from startups, and that will open a new business segment as well for companies. So in that background, on that basis, how do we see space research? How do we see Horizon Europe and the space research taking place and taking shape in that context? So first, you know that we have for 21 until 27, we have 1.7 billion euros that we want to invest in space research in Europe. This is not a huge amount, but this is already something. And actually, sometimes it's quite unknown that the Union, together with its member states, is a key actor in space research. So that is important to be highlighted. I think what we need to achieve with the space research, and because it's not a huge amount of money, is being strategic. We need to invest where we can really make an impact and make a difference. So where does that apply? First, of course, we need to ensure that we contribute to the consolidation of our space flagships, to our two constellations, Galileo and Copernicus, and that we prepare the ground for the third constellation, secure connectivity. So that's, of course, one of the top priority when it comes to space research, ensuring that we contribute to the R&D activities of Galileo, Copernicus, and secure connectivity. Second area where we can make a big difference is technological non-dependency. Notably in some key domains where we do have shortfalls and gaps, like electric propulsion or EEE and semiconductors. So that you know that semiconductors, I mean, the situation is very critical. We are highly dependent. This is a key, this is very important for space missions. So we need to be able to have more autonomy, more sovereignty in the development of semiconductors. And that's why actually with the space research program, we want to allocate more resources to technological non-dependencies. And a third area where we can really make a difference is in developing pathfinder missions in domains where we see that it will have an impact for the Union, so in strategic terms, and an impact for industry in terms of business. And here I'd like to highlight two pathfinder missions that we want to prepare with the Horizon Europe. One is quantum space gravimetry in that domain, and the second one is in future space ecosystem, so in-orbit servicing. In-orbit servicing is a very promising area, but we need to de-risk and to achieve a level of comfort, both for governments, for authorities, and for industry. And that's why we want to develop this pathfinder mission as well in in-orbit servicing. So we need to be strategic in the way we run Horizon Europe and the space research program. So that's why we need again to use that money adding value, of course, and stimulating as well the downstream segment. I'd like to mention that as a last point, so that we need to have a clear strategy for the downstream industry. I know that Italy is very up on the game on this one. We need really to, we have the upstream segment, but we need as well to develop the downstream segment. This is actually where industry will really make a business tomorrow. And that's why we need as well to see how the space research program can stimulate the downstream segment of the space ecosystem. So, Mr. Chair, I'd like to stop here to give you with that background and to tell you why Horizon Europe matters. Mavid Inzeo will explain to you better more in details the work program 23-24 in the next panel. But thank you very much for that opportunity to share with you the big picture. Thank you very much.
Thank you a lot, Guillaume. Quite clear message, exactly what we were expecting from you. I hope that you can still hear me. So I'm not sure you can hear me now, but in any case, thanks a lot.
I can hear you. Thank you very much. I can hear you. Thank you very much, Mr.
Perfect. And quite clear. Really, I appreciate, because starting from the 5 priorities, clearly you have a design what will be the main element that will characterize the new work program. That's work program that you are going to receive soon. Apart from the fact that this work program already is present around, let's say in this way. Thanks a lot. So now, to conclude the picture, we need to know, or let's say we would like to have a different point of view in the lecture of the new work programs. Augusto, you are here in this moment because we are not going to ask you to do many things, but unfortunately there was a problem with Michel. So Michel is your colleagues in the delegation in class of 4. It's up to you now to give a picture of what's going on within the class of 4, and in particular from the point of view of the Italian delegation as far as concerned the negotiation and the situation and the main issues from the new work programs. The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much, Marco. Okay, I'm Augusto Gramarussa. I'm a member of, as Marco said, as a member of, I am an expert of the Italian delegation in Cluster 4. I'm also here as a representative. I'm the head of the strategic area coordination in the Italian Space Agency. Before going to provide you an answer, Marco, I'd like to be quite short, because we have already heard a lot of very important and interesting information. I would like only to say that this is a very intense period. It's dense of event. I would like to remember the fact that now we have in Italy a new government, and we will have also the appointment, the new political authority has been delegated in order to coordinate space activity. We have the ESA Ministerial Council in 2 weeks. And this is a very important event. Regarding European Union, I think that there is nothing to add to what has been already said by Alberto Salvatore. In particular, I would like to thank Guillaume, because he made exactly a very broad intervention touching all the main points, and this is, as Marco said, this is exactly what we were expecting from him. So thank you very much, Guillaume, for all the information you gave to us. So we are now going to very close to the issuing of the new work program of Radio Europe for the period 2023 and 2024. No, I would like just to, Marco, if you allow me, just to familiarize with you, I would like to know if you maybe raise your hand, how many people is coming from, I don't know, university, just to know how is, which is the composition today. Okay, thank you very much. Center of Research. Okay, thanks a lot. Industry. Okay, industry is the higher percentages. And within industry, maybe SME. Okay, it's quite very good, high participation. Thank you a lot for being here with us. And just the last question, Marco. How many are you are involved in downstream? Guillaume has mentioned the importance also to develop the downstream sector. How many of you are in the downstream sector?
This side.
Okay, this side, the left side. Okay, thank you very much for having given to us this information, because I think that we have a very broad participation of all the different sectors. So coming back to my intervention, so it has been already mentioned, Marco, from your side, the difficulty, the complexity of the cluster 4, because there is really an integration and a correlation with other programs. What is important to have is to try to identify synergies, and this is something that we are doing. We are trying to do with the support of the European Commission. We would like really to thank the European Commission representative that will take the floor in the next section. And in particular, taking into account that space is quite transversal, quite horizontal, we have always asked to the European Commission to show us, in addition to the space work program that is Destination 5 in Cluster 4, to help us in identifying other topics where space is involved in other destinations. This is very important because now I would like to tell you which is the ASI role, what we are doing as an Italian Space Agency to support the Italian community. So in addition to the Space Week that are done by APRE, because APRE is responsible, and we are supporting APRE in this. But our role is to try to have the best kind of integration with the space community, and this is really what I'm very happy to see you here, because you are a lot, and it's very important to strengthen the relation that we have with you. Why? Because it's very important to know which are your opinion, your ideas, and in particular also your needs. Because the role of the delegation is to try to also to support the European Commission in the preparation of the work program, and this is done before through the Italian support to the European Commission to the elaboration of the strategy for space and its updating, and now we are very close to have in updating. I mean, in the past we have issued together with the Commission, thanks to the consultation platform of the Strategic Research and Innovation Agenda. Now the Commission is preparing a new strategy for a broader strategy for research and innovation for space. So our role is to provide the European Commission with the Italian proposal, and the Italian proposal can be detailed and can be realized only with the support of the entire Italian community. And so this is very important that you are here, and also in the future you can help us in preparing the Italian position. In addition, okay, so we are very happy to receive from you proposal. We are completely at your disposal for any kind of meetings in the future. And we are also, our role is also to help you in understanding the work program for the next year. So we are at your disposal also to provide you some support. And then the final point of this, the final point of this chain is maybe we are also ready with APRE. This is something that we have done also for Horizon 2020. When you are very close to submit your proposal to the European Commission, we are at your disposal to maybe to provide you some comment on the proposal before submitting it to the Commission. So this is, I hope, in a nutshell, the main role that we are doing. And thank you again for your participation. And I think that, Marco, maybe we can move to the next point of the agenda. Thank you.
Yes, thanks a lot, Augusto. Clearly, some of the words of Augusto was from an Italian point of view, but in principle, what has been addressed by him is general for any kind of member state. So the same kind of relations within the community, the representative of the member state representative in the program committee remain the same. So it's a general message. So thanks a lot. I would now thank you, people who are sitting with me, Alberto and Augusto. We are going to move now. I had the pleasure to pass the floor to Augusto as a chairperson for the next session. We have walked around the work program 23-24, and now it's time to go a little in deep to have some kind of better information about that. So the next session will be about Augusto. Good execution. Okay. And have a nice space week to all of you.
Okay, thank you very much, Marco. So we can start with the next session, session number 1, Horizon Europe Structure and Space Opportunity in the period 23-24. I would like to invite Maria Vittoria Dinzeo to come here close to me, or if you prefer to, you can use the podium. Maria Vittoria, it's up to you to decide. Come per le slide abbiamo... Ah, da lì? Okay. So I've seen that maybe we have already some delay, and so we will have 2 interventions. The first one with Maria Vittoria, and then we will have also Fabio Vitobello of the European Commission that will complement what has been said by Maria Vittoria. And here with me, Valentina Fioroni of APRE, and she is co-chairing with me this session. So, Maria Vittoria, whenever you want, you can start. I hope that you have everything.
Thank you very much, Augusto, and thanks again for inviting the Commission.
Oh, thanks to you to be here.
Really glad to be here. My name is Maria Vittoria Dinzeo. I work with Guillaume Delabrosse in the same unit. We are in charge of innovation, startups, and economics, and our unit is in charge of the drafting of the work program and consulting with the member states, and Augusto is actually the expert for space. And I'm going to present to you the work program, which, as you will see also, we have a disclaimer in each slide because the work program is not yet adopted and will be published towards the end of the month. But I will, in any case, I have included the date that is expected, so you will see. So obviously, please do take this information as it is, because it's still not, official. It will only be official when it's public. Okay, next. Voila. So just in this chart is just to give you an overview on how we have split the allocation, which is more or less between the 23 and 24 budget is more or less 400 and something million. And you will see also the implementation in the pie chart. What are the activities delegated, implemented by the HADEA, what used to be the Research Executive Agency, which is now changed the name to Health and Digital Executive Agency, because we have activities implemented by them and other implemented by the European Space Agency and by EU SPA. So what we have in the call 23 is more or less 220 million split into 11 areas with a total of 29 topics, while in the 2024 call we have more or less 200 million euros split into the 9 areas that you see there with 16 topics. Now let's go into the details. The presentation is split between the different areas. So for competitiveness, and of course you have had the introduction of the different areas by Guillaume. So I will just be presenting very briefly the slide, because I understand they will be shared in any case. So in the interest of time, I will briefly touch upon that. So for competitiveness, we have the 2023 call for end-to-end Earth observation system and associated services. The budget is roughly 10 million, split into 5 projects. The expected outcome, you can see it already in the slide, the expected outcome and the scope, but it's to support the Earth observation technologies based on a network of small satellites with innovative capabilities, seizing the full innovation potential of low-cost or disruptive approaches. Another call for competitiveness topic is the future space ecosystem and enabling technologies, still in 2023, with a total budget of 15 million, split into 7 different projects. And again, the scope of this topic is to have some building blocks, technologies for support the development of technologies for electric propulsion system, and technologies and concept with clear application, and pathway to application and business sustainability. So the last call on competitiveness, it's 2 million, it's coordination and support action. So the other two, they were innovation action and research innovation action. So I will also at the end say also the expected financing scheme. So this CSA action on future space ecosystem is to focusing on the roadmap. It will support one project to follow the project of other FSC calls, and contribute to the pathway to innovative and promising application and services, taking into account new space approaches, enabling technologies, and fostering synergies with other terrestrial sectors. Voila, so that was for the call on competitiveness. For access to space, we have again 3 calls in the 2023. The first one is 20 million. It's a research innovation action. It's focusing on low-cost, high-thrust propulsion. It's for strategic launches. It's a follow-up activity on the 21-22 work program. And the difference between the 21-22 work program is the TRL, because it's one step further. And again, this is a call that is aimed at supporting strategic launches, and what we, the way which we define strategic launches is those launches that are used for the launching of space program components. So Ariane and Vega. So the scope of this call is really to support mature technology building blocks, tools and processes that are expected to reach TRL 7 at the end of the project. The second access to space activity, as also Guillaume mentioned in his introduction, is on the one hand we support strategic launcher, but at the same time we also support the maturation and new space transportation solution concepts and services. So this one is really aimed at the newcomers, new ideas, and maturation of enabling technologies and subsystem in the field. This is a very broad topic in the field of green propulsion, micro-launcher, launch facility, kick stage, orbital propulsion, and so on. The overall budget is 23 million, more or less, and we will be funding 4 topics. And this is a research innovation action. Still on access to space, we have another activity on modern, flexible and efficient European test production and launch facility. This, again, it's a topic that continued by Work Program 21-22. It's much more broad with respect to the previous one. What is the idea behind is really to have cost reduction and improving flexibility of European launch system by supporting the ground segment and the test and production launch facilities. And it is a topic of 10 million and 3 projects will be financed. So obviously, I forgot to mention, because we in some of the topics, and this is the case for access to space, there are some current country restriction, because some topics are opened only to EU member states or some associated countries. You will find all the information in the work program. It should not be new for you, because that was the same that was applied in 21-22 work program. But where you see in the blue boxes country restriction, yes, it means that there are some limitations to the participation. So now let's move to the evolution of EGNSS. We have 3 actions, it's 3 other actions. This is in public procurement. First one is evolution of EGNSS mission and services. And the objective, you see also the repetition with the budget split. It's 5 million in total, with 23 and 24, 2.5 each year. We still don't know about the number of projects, and the restriction here will be applied on a case-by-case basis. But the objective of this topic is to study potential new user needs, and determine how the GNSS program Galileo and EGNOS shall evolve to address new user needs. So this is really, as also Guillaume was saying, is to support the continuous innovation of our flagship. And in the same spirit is also the other action still on EGNSS, on technology and infrastructure. Here it's much more consistent, the budget, but this is delegated and implemented by ESA. this topic, well, this activity covers really the R&D upstream part of EGNSS, and will cover the maturing of existing technologies and the development of new and emerging technologies for EGNSS. As I said, this is an activity delegated to ESA. So it's another type of action. It's not a call. Finally, I think it's the last one on EGNSS. Other action. This activity is delegated to EU SPA, the EU Space Program Agency, located in Prague. It's 5 million from 2023 budget only. This action will cover the development and use of service demonstrators to consolidate the future EGNSS services, optimization of the operational scheme using advanced dynamic strategies. Now, if we go still in the part of other action, we have another different area on GovSatcom, which is evolving towards the secure connectivity program. It's a precursor. We have two other action. First one is still delegated and implemented by the European Space Agency. It's for this action. You can see also the budgetary split and repartition in 23 and 24. And this activity is really there to enable and support the development and validation action for the construction of the initial space and ground infrastructure required for the provision of governmental services, which includes the development and validation of the QKD, quantum key distribution payload of the EuroQCI, first generation satellite based on EU technology. Second activity, still delegated and implemented by ESA, is supporting once again the upstream technology and R&D activities of GovSatcom, and the action under this area will cover the development of critical building blocks in the space segment, ground control and mission segment, and user segment terminals. So obviously, I guess the slide will be shared with the participants. As I said, I'm briefly presented all of the work program. We have a lot, as you can understand. So I will move to the Copernicus services calls. We have 4 topics in the 2023 call, and 2 topics in the 2024 calls. And already you can see that there is one topic addressing each of the Copernicus services. So the topic 23, number 31, it's Copernicus for atmosphere and climate change, including CO2 monitoring. It's a topic with a budget of 8.60 million that will be used to fund 3 projects. And you can see the scope and what are the expected outcomes of this topic. But this is really to address the Copernicus the Copernicus service for atmosphere monitoring and climate change services, with a view to respond to evolving policy and user requirements and new technology development. Still, another call in the Copernicus is the Copernicus for emergency management, with 3 million for one project, research innovation action still. The scope of this call is to support innovative methods and technology for emergency-related applications, addressing the needs of the Copernicus Emergency Management Service. So the next topic for Copernicus is a Copernicus in situ component, space 0133, 2 million. It's still a research innovation action. It's to support optimal use of early observation, past observer method, error analysis, quality control, and bias adjustment. The scope is really to facilitate and demonstrate of efficient, methodologically sound and sustainable reuse of in situ data, development of innovative observation strategies and concepts, synergistic use of complementary types of service observation, and application of machine learning technology for quality control. Still in the 2023 call, there is a topic on Copernicus for marine environmental monitoring. It's again a research innovation action of 5 million for just one project. The scope is really to support services that address the coastal zones for policy implementation, conservation, resilient to climate change, and sustainable blue economy. In 2024, now, so these were the 4 topics of 2023. Still, Copernicus services, we have 2 more topics under the 24 call. First one is still a research innovation action, and we have 4 million to be split into 2 projects. It's for addressing Copernicus for land and water. And I mean, as you can see in the slide, we will be funding 2 projects, each in one area of innovative methods to integrate current land products into land service use and cover change. And the other area, R&I area, is integrated product provision system using innovative methods and observation to improve the portfolio of the current inland and coastal shore hydrological satellite observation products. The last Copernicus call is for the Copernicus for Security, an 8 million call for 2 projects, still research innovation action. I mean, you see there are quite a few expected outcomes, and the scope is really to support innovative methods and technologies to explore new and enlarged data sets and support the development of application addressing requirements that are not yet addressed by current services, and also to support action for the evolution and scope of the security services by increasing user reach, responding to specific regional needs, and increasing service added value in operational scenarios. So now for the downstream part, we have a number of topics, as you can see, which are part of, as I said, delegated to EUSPA. And these are part of the EUSPA work program, which in any case will be annexed to the main Horizon work program. And they address EGNSS and Copernicus application plus PRS uses and GovSatcom uses. So the first topic, it's 3.5 million for 2 projects. And it is addressing transition towards a green, smart, and more secure post-pandemic society. So very topical again. And this topic will support development of downstream commercial application which foster the creation of cities built around its citizens, developed on efficient mobility solutions, environmental friendly and energetically efficient. As well, it will support the development of downstream solutions based on Galileo, EGNOS, and Copernicus, combined with connectivity, 5G and SATCOM, and other cutting-edge digital technology to enable more efficient and resilient solutions. Second activity, still in the EU SPA work program, it's an innovation action of 8 million, which will be funding 4 projects, up to 4 projects. It's the topic on closing the gaps in mature, regulated, and long-term, long lead markets. So you can see already what are the expected outcome is really to broaden the reach of EGNSS and develop. Opla. Okay, thanks. Develop industrially accepted, certified, and standardized schemes that exploit the use of EGNSS. So really the scope is to close the related standardization and the certification gap for rail safely critical application and other application of the aviation markets. So as I said, this is an innovation action, still delegated and implemented by EU SPA. Next activity is still in 2023, Copernicus-based application for businesses and policymaker. Total budget foreseen is 7 million for 5 projects. And here we have a number of application of the downstream activities that can be funded, and the expected projects are really expected to address usually only one of the areas listed under the scope. And the expected outcome is really to enhance existing application or develop new application and products relying on the Copernicus data and services. Another topic in 23 call, it's the Galileo PRS service for governmental authorized use cases. This is an activity of 9 million that will be used to fund 5 projects. Proposal should identify, design, and create application leveraging the items for the first generation of Galileo, and obviously should also address the governmentally authorized user communities and scenarios for which the technical, operational, and security-related features requirements of PRS service constitute barriers to entry. So, of course, the expected outcome is to further develop the use cases of authorized civilian users based on the added value of the PRS services, and develop more PRS application, foster European-level cooperation of entities. So here, as you can see in the country restriction, there are some limitations, so really do refer to the work program for more information where everything is much more detailed. Another activities, still in the EU SPA work program, it's number 45, joint test activities for Galileo PRS services. It's a 3 million budget for 2 projects. Again, we have some country restriction for this activity, as it's usually the case, because there are sensitive and security aspects related. So the scope is to have activities that, of course, should be coordinated by the competent PRS authorities. and address actions for the validation and the verification of the PRS services, testing of PRS services and PRS item, and preparation of the awareness activities and uptake of the authorized users. Voila, another topic is still with some restriction, 6 million for 7 different projects, so slightly less amount, it's up to 1 million for each of the projects. And this topic addresses the designing space-based downstream application with international partners. So here proposals should target one of more of the expected outcomes that are mentioned in the beginning. So use of EGNSS and sharing of expertise with public and private entities, use of Copernicus data to develop algorithms, services, and products, combine use of EGNSS and Copernicus to develop new and innovative downstream application. So, as I said, proposals should target one or more of these three areas. And proposal can also include the use of other space-based or non-space-based assets and services, so making the link with other technologies and deep tech. And of course, the international cooperation with international partners applies, and some restriction applies to this topic. I think it's we're reaching the end to this topic. So next one is still under the EU SPA activities is EU GovSatcom for a safer and more secure EU. It's a 10 million activity funding up to 3 projects. Still, there are some country restrictions. Proposal in this under this area should select at least one of the GovSatcom use cases and support the adaptation of one or more existing SATCOM terminals in order to carry out the demonstration and ensure engagement of relevant user communities. So, I will not read go into all the details of this topic, but maybe just to mention one of the expected outcomes is really to identify, assess, and develop one or more suitable cases, as I've just said, in the area of surveillance, crisis management, and key infrastructure. Voilà, so that was all for the, let's say, activity managed by EU SPA that you will find in the EU SPA work program annexed to the Horizon work program. Now we have also, under the call 23, we will have 2 topics for quantum, and 24, we have one topic. And this, obviously, as the chair Falsetti mentioned at the beginning and also echoed by Guillaume, maybe it is a challenge, the fact that space is jointly with other 2 very broad areas like digital and industry. At the same time, it facilitates building the synergies with other parts of Horizon, notably for the quantum, the case of quantum, we have very close connection also for the implementation of quantum activities with the digital part. And indeed, we are building a strong relationship also as a precursor to the secure connectivity program. So the first call for quantum communication technology for space systems is number 62. It's a 5 million topic funding 2 projects. It's a research and innovation action. And here the scope of this call is really the development of critical components and technologies that are necessary to build a space quantum key distribution system. The topic covers all the critical hardware and software components necessary for the quantum key distribution function to be implemented via a satellite payload, as well as the corresponding optical ground station. Obviously, as also echoed before by Guillaume, an important element, an important aspect is the standardization. So here we really expect to have projects to address the issue of standardization for the QKD space system. Again, please bear that in this topic the country restriction applies, as it is the case for the next topic, quantum space gravimetry phase A study. So this is really a study that we will fund 2 projects with a total budget of up to 2 projects for a budget of 3 million. And under this topic also, as I said, the final objective is really the selection of a quantum space gravimetry Pathfinder mission, as also said by Guillaume. So to achieve the Pathfinder mission, we will fund 2 phase A proposal for a feasibility studies that as specifies in the ECSS MST 10C. Don't really know what it is, but as I said, 2 studies will be funded under this activity, and will be continued in the 2024 topic, because as a result of this phase A study, we will continue with a phase B study, and you also see the budget of 14.2 million only for 1 project, and the idea is really to follow up on the 2023 activity, and still is to prepare the next phases for the implementation of a quantum space gravimetry Pathfinder mission. So for this purpose, we will be funding 1 phase B study. Okay, so now we move on to more the support to innovation and entrepreneurship. We have a number of activities that we fund under the Horizon Work Program. So we have everything that has to deal with the Cassini space entrepreneurship activity. I will not, I will not focus too much on the Cassini activity, because there will be a detailed presentation tomorrow. But one of the first activity under the umbrella of Cassini is the My EU Space competition. It's a sort of a prize really to enhance the development of innovative commercial solution that use Copernicus images and Galileo signals. The EU competition is now open for application. You also see the cutoff dates because this prize it's really split into 3 let's say thematics. One is for the submission of idea, then we have submission of prototype and submission of product. So in total 40 awards will be 40 awards will be done for a total of 1 million. Then we have the Cassini Business Accelerator activity, and this is really to support entrepreneurship and to guide them to better shape their business plan and allow really the future entrepreneurs to be more market ready and prepare and be coached and guided throughout the journey to the commercialization. Finally, we have another Cassini activity, the hackathons and mentoring. As I said, I would not like to spend a lot of time. This is just to anticipate what we have under the work program for sake of completeness, but we will have dedicated session tomorrow, especially for the hackathons and mentoring. And also in support of technology maturation and innovative and support to innovation, we have the IOD-IOV service, which is funded under the Horizon work program. Again, I will be presenting this in more details. Of course, with IOD-IOV, what we support is really to reduce the time to market for promising technologies that need to be validated into orbit. This activity is delegated, is entrusted to European Space Agency that is in charge of all the procurement action. But essentially what we do under IOD-IOV, we support innovation by providing aggregation on carrier if needed, launch services and operation. So finally, we have two topics on technology non-dependence, space technology for European non-dependence and competitiveness. As Augusto also anticipated, my colleague Fabio will give a more detailed explanation on the critical space technology topics. So we have two activities, one in 2023, and here I have mentioned the areas, the technologies that will be addressed under the first call, with a budget of 20 million to fund up to 7 projects. And in 2024, we have, again, more or less 20 million to fund other 7 projects. Please do pay attention, because here there are some country restrictions. And you also see the technologies. I wouldn't want to spend a lot of time, because my colleague Fabio, again, will have a dedicated presentation on the critical space technologies. The next topic is space science. We didn't have a space science topic in the 21-22 work program, so we have added one in the 23 call with a budget of 10 million, more than 10 million, 10.7 million. It's to fund up to 8 projects. There are no country restriction. Obviously, we expect activities to have a scientific value through analysis of data leading to scientific publication and high-level data products, tools, and methods. Of course, this is a research and innovation action, and of course, here we don't have country restriction, and international cooperation, so cooperation with international actors is particularly encouraged, notably with countries that are active in the space exploration and space science. So finally, we have SST. We have 5 topics addressing space surveillance and tracking and space situational awareness. I will not spend a lot of time on these topics. Why? Because these are, if you want, grants with a pre-identified beneficiary, which is the EU SST partnership. So for each of these 5 topics, the expected outcome and the scope build on the previous activities. So each of the topic will have to build on what have already been discovered, yes, and addressed in the previous activities. So this goes for the first topic in 24. They're all, by the way, all topics under the 2024 call. This is obviously to allow the setting up of the SST partnership, which has been done, will be carried out in 2022 by the end of the year. And we have, so first topic on new and improved EU SST mission and services. We have again a new activity on SST and STM system architecture and evolution. Here, of course, the country restriction applies because, as I said, it's only the members of the EU SST consortium that can participate. Then we have a space-based SST, Mission System and Sensor Network. As I said, this is, I'm just skipping over this because it's, as I said, a grant to a pre-identified beneficiary. So unless you're not part of the consortium, is maybe not of much interest to the audience. Then we have a topic on SST sensor and processing, and finally, SST networking, security, and data sharing. Finally, we have another activity on space weather and near-Earth object with, yes, 5.7 million. We still don't know how many projects will be funded. This is, again, delegated to ESA. Research and innovation activities under space weather will deal with development of certain technology elements for precursor services, including development, testing, and validation of space weather models, whilst under NEO, research and innovation activities will study precursor services, European hot redundant minor planet center backup, and increase network of national assets. So as I said, this is an activity that is delegated to ESA for the implementation. So now what, just to conclude the presentation, what is, I think, very important to you is to know when the work program will be published. So the expected timing is really the 28th of November, so the adoption will be a few days before. But on 28th of November, the call should, the work program should be officially published and available to everyone. The call for the 2023 topics is expected to open on 22nd of December, and the closing is foreseen 28th of March next year. Same time for the EU SPA. For the EU SPA topics, we still don't have a fixed date, but the topics are expected to open for application in October 23 until February 2024. We are working to have to try and anticipate the application. To anticipate it from October, which is very further in the year. So we'll try to anticipate that. Obviously, all the as soon as we have more concrete and fixed dates, they will be publicly available in any case. Whilst for the Cluster 4 2024 space call, the expected opening is 21st of November next year, with the closing for application 20th of February 2024. As I said at the beginning, what is the financing rate for research and innovation action? All the projects are funded 100%, whilst for innovation action, the funding rate is up to 70%. And again, for coordination and support action, the funding is 100%. Where to apply to these calls? I added a link to the EU funding and tender portal. You can also search by name or by topic, and in the search, in the little with the magnifying glasses, and you will be redirected to all the available calls where you will be able to apply. Again, thank you very much. Here we have, again, information on associated countries, on their participation. Again, as Augusto was mentioning at the beginning, we indeed are trying to develop a new and comprehensive strategy for EU space R&I, and in fact, to do that, We have very recently published a survey, and we would welcome your inputs very much. So if you could, again, please feel free to use the QR code and submit your inputs. Of course, you will need to be registered to the platform of the STARS EU. But it would really be your inputs would be will very much welcome your inputs on how to really build the space strategy and what areas we could put that will guide us through for the programming of activities to the second part of the MFF and the way forward. So thanks a lot for your attention. I am available if you have any question. Thank you. Augusto, back to you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mavi. It's a very comprehensive and detailed description of the work program, as you have seen, is quite huge, very much articulated and complex. In any case, it will be published, so you will have all the information in the text. I would like, if I may, before giving the floor to Fabio Vitobello, I took some note on what you said. On the consultation, just the last point mentioned by Mavi, we would be happy if you could also share with the Italian Space Agency your input that you maybe will provide to the European Commission, because it's also very important for us to know which are your opinion and point of view and proposal. So if you like, we are quite happy to have the input, your input to the Commission. I would like to say, because I forgot before, that this Space Week we have with APRE, we have identified session in the next days. Something has been very well already highlighted by Mavi. There are topics that, from our point of view, are very important. There are topics like the next one, for example, Tripoli component, but also I would like to mention IOV-IOD that has been described by Mavi, also Cassini, that both IOV-IOD and Cassini will be described with more detail tomorrow, because we think that are very important activity. IOV-IOD is also something that is supported by the European Space Agency, by ESA. We were discussing just yesterday in Paris the same kind of activity. And we would like also to mention, Mavi, you have shown among other action, the EU SST partnership. In this case, there is a predefined beneficiary that is this partnership. I'd like to inform you that the Italian Space Agency has been nominated as a national entity that will be part of this partnership. We're working together with the Ministry of Defense and with INAF. So we are, let's say, the front end of a national group for SST, because we think that is another very, very important activity. Having said that, I think that I've said all the notes that I've taken. I would like to give the floor to Fabio Vitobello. Unfortunately, we got a quite important delay. And so, Fabio, in any case, thank you for your availability, and I give you the floor for Tripoli critical technology for non-dependence, and the floor is yours, and thank you. I hope that everything is working.
Thank you, Augusto.
Okay. We hear you very well, so.
All right. So good morning to everybody. Happy to be here, and thank you for the invite. I will take you through a brief presentation that I'm going to share right now. And the idea is to, let's say, go a little bit more in details to highlight some specificities and criticalities of, let's say, of this domain that require, let's say, your attention, your considerations. So we will talk about critical space technologies for European independence. As you are aware, or you might be aware, this is a topic that, let's say, is very high in the political agenda of the European Union. All of us, I guess, we are aware of the geopolitical situation, the dynamic situation that we are facing nowadays in this period of time in different parts of the world. That, of course, are affecting us, are affecting our space capabilities, space industrial capabilities in Europe as well, because there are a relationship with access to certain technologies and access to materials and so on and so forth. I mean, we are coming from an era of, let's say, an open market worldwide. Therefore, I mean, we somehow have to adjust to a situation where we have, let's say, certain difficulties or challenges coming from, for example, export restrictions, but also, the difficulties in getting access to certain technologies or materials that are, for example, prioritized toward other type of domains. So the recent geopolitical developments have highlighted the urgency of increasing, our effort, the European Union effort on technology dependencies. In this framework, actually, a lot of discussions took place, and you might heard also our President of the European Commission touching this point several times in the latest recent State of the Union speeches. So the Commission has taken several steps to enhance EU resilience and EU strategic technology sovereignty, what we call. And one of them was clearly also increasing the budget allocated, starting from work program 2023, in the area of critical space technology for European non-dependence. Some of you or all of you might be aware of the fact that the European Union has been having this topic already as part of our standard space program since several years, and has, let's say, supported the developments of several type of critical space technologies. So with the work program 2023, we are doubling the funding that we allocated, for example, in the last 2 years, and we are now at 20 million euros per year that will be allocated from 2023 up to the end of the Horizon Europe program, specifically to this domain, to this topic. And we also took actions in order to, let's say, reflect in this critical space technology that will be supported directly from the European Union and implemented by the European Commission, in order to reflect the also new dependencies that recent crises have been highlighted, for example, at the borders of Europe. So it is quite clear and evident to everybody that we need to avoid situations of technology dependencies and non-EU sources. This is in order to, let's say, support the policy objectives in terms of safeguard of Union strategic assets that we also have, on ground, as well as in the space segment, interest, autonomy, and security. So on this topic, we implemented also specific requirements in order to achieve this objective. As you might be aware, the objective of reducing dependencies, increasing EU technology autonomy is not a simple case. It's not a simple equation to be solved, because there are dependencies that are coming, from a particular product, from a particular technology, but also dependencies that are triggered by how a certain supply chain responding and manufacturing, developing a certain product eventually is constituted. Therefore, for example, we have increased, or we have reviewed and then eventually further elaborated our terms for eligibility conditions, the request for guarantees in order to put in place and provide unrestricted access to technology that are developed by our EU space projects, as well as, let's say, specific requirements in terms of non-EU export restrictions. Allow me to go into a little bit more detail so that you will, let's say, understand exactly what I'm talking about, and you will hopefully, consider if you're planning to apply for this type of calls. So one of the elements that is part of this call is the eligibility conditions. So the eligibility conditions for this topic has been limited to only legal entities established in member states, including Iceland and Norway. But this is just one part of the equation, because this is not, let's say, directly, assure that at the end the product developed will be freely accessible to European end users. Therefore, you also have the legal obligation for this topic that for a period of up to 4 years after the end of the project, access rights to the use of the product and or processes generated by the project should be given to European entities. So we want to make sure that once you develop a certain product, the product will remain available to all space end user at least for a period of 4 years after the end of the project. And the project should indeed assure the development of a product that is free of non-EU export restrictions, like, for example, ITAR and EAR 99, that typically, let's say, they are extraterritorial export restrictions. So in order to pursue, let's say, this objective, when you are putting together your proposal responding to this call, you need to also include, ideally, a specific paragraph dedicated to describe the technology that you're planning to develop and the different technology processes, and how you are planning to ensure that non-EU legal export restrictions or limitations will be guaranteed. I mean, this is not an easy, or let's say, or something to be underestimated. You need to do it, properly, and you need to give a thought about it. It's possible, it's feasible, but you need to, let's say, think how to do it. And if necessary, for example, because the company is multinational, you need to also describe how you are planning to put in place a suitable technology development process aiming at avoiding the triggering of extraterritorial non-EU export restriction. Again, this is possible. You need to do it in a smart way. And this, of course, has to be valid for the entire and the overall supply chain that is behind the component, the product that you are planning to develop related to critical space technologies. An additional element, an additional bit of information that is useful for you is the consideration that starting from work program 2023, the project responding to this topic will be going through what we call the OCA procedure. This means that we will request the companies to provide, let's say, to open their books in order to let us understanding exactly whether there is any challenge from a foreign control, possible control. And if this is the case, of course, I mean, it's still possible to implement the project, but you need to guarantee to the European Commission that the project will be implemented in a way to avoid issues concerning foreign control. Therefore, for example, potential access to sensitive information and results, including, for example, also IPRs. This is something that is requested on your side. Also from our side, we will check what is the share composition and the voting rights concerning the decisions that are taken at the level of the company, if multinational and let's say driven or controlled by non-EU entities. So then we go into the actual discussion of the critical space technologies that will be part of this call. As anticipated by my colleague Mavi, there will be several types of technologies you must be aware of the fact that, okay, the critical space technology is a broad domain. We are going from components, typically in the area of Tripoli components, but also we are touching also equipment and then system levels. So, so for example, in 2023, again, this is a draft, but okay, the final publication is expected by the end of November. But okay, what I'm trying to say that for 2023, what we expect to initiate are the following, technologies. Of course, at the moment, for the time being, and in the frame of this presentation, I will remain at, let's say, high level, so the identification of the areas. But of course, I mean, you can imagine that there is more technical requirements, technical guidelines. At the moment, we are drafting the technical guidance that will be, let's say, a legal document that will be supporting the work program and will be providing you more technical information about what to expect from each of these technology lines. So, for example, we are going to have in 2023 high-speed DAC ADC converters. We had some projects running in the past, and we want to keep, helping the converters, DAC ADC for digital conversion, to maturing across the TRL tree, let's say, maturation tree, and this is an urgency, let's say, for 2023. The next one will be the space qualified carbon fibers and impregnated material sources. Again, some activities were started in the past, and we want to keep developing this line. Then another urgent action is in the area of detectors. We are all aware of the fact that both in the area of infrared detectors, but also in the area of visible range detectors, we have the need of developing a fully European supply chain. At the moment, we have strong dependencies from outside Europe, and this call will help our industry to achieve the establishment of a supply chain and eventually the development of detectors in the area of infrared wavelength. Then the other technology line is in the area of electrical propulsion. So this is more at system level. The idea is to help our industry to mature and to further mature to complete, let's say, full qualification of, let's say, electrical thrusters as well as PPUs in the range up to 5 kilowatts. We know that we have good, let's say, capabilities in Europe that have been, developed in the last years. We want to support this and, let's say, support, for example, the qualification activities that they are key for the time being for, let's say, eventually provide a fully European solution and respond to our needs. The next technology line is something that will pave the way toward a longer view. So in order to reduce dependencies, one of the dependencies critically coming from the actual, a gas that is used for electrical propulsion. Might be, it's xenon in the majority of the case, or for example, krypton. But the problem is that, okay, these gases, elements are not easily, let's say, available in Europe. And very often, they are also, particularly important for space. There is not much use in other space sectors. So we have a dependency there. And our intention is to develop a new generation of thrusters that will be based on non-dependent propellants. We know that this is from a theoretical point of view, from initial research, this is possible, and we want to boost these developments. The next one is replacement solution for metallic lead. This is coming and stemming from our regulation of REACH and potential ban of the use of lead in components, assemblies that are key especially for the space sector, for potential initiation of whiskers. And we want to support our industry in order to find a potential alternative to lead, therefore a transition toward the non-lead based components. We know that, for example, in automotive, in other sectors, this is already possible, is used. Okay, they don't have constraints like in space with whiskers, but we want to take advantage already of what is happening, for example, in other sectors, and let's say develop our knowledge to develop also solutions applicable for space. The other one is multi-junction solar cells. Also, I guess in the audience there are representations of capabilities coming also from Italy in the area of solar cells. So please consider this possibility to apply here. And we want to develop a capability for high efficient solar cells in Europe. And then very quickly, of course, I will spend the less words because the time is ticking. For 2024, we will support low shock, non-explosive actuators for small sats, high data rate, low consumption, short range links. Also, we will support the development of laser sources, then qualify the detectors, but this time in the visible range. And the next one is about ultra deep submicron technology. Here, you are all aware of the fact that, okay, we have certain limitations in terms of the minimum technology node that is available in Europe for, products like ASICs, FPGA, microprocessors, and we want to push further the boundaries. Of course, this will be coming in complementarity with the CHIPS Act, but also from our side, we want to make sure that our space program will indeed support the development of fully space-driven components in the area of ultra deep submicron. So therefore, in our definition, lower than 22 nanometers gate length technology. The next one is about discrete power devices. Here, many activities were initiated and responding to developments of GaN-based technology for power applications, so normally off for switching applications. Here, the focus will be on 200 volts, particularly relevant for space, and will be complementing other activities covering other voltages like the 650 volts and lower voltages for point of loads that are currently already running. And then the last point is about photonics components. This is also a very large, let's say, domain, and the more details will be shared, when we'll be finishing the drafting of the technical document. The last slide from my side, to be very, very brief, is, the fact that, okay, please stay tuned, because by the time we will publish the call, we'll be also adding the technical document where we will find more, let's say, technical information on let's say, on a similar line that I try to, explain orally. And this is, expected to be released in December 2022. So this was all from my side. Of course, if you have any question, any doubt or clarification, don't hesitate to get in touch with me. Happy to support you. Thank you, and back to you, Augusto.
Grazie. Thank you, Fabio. Thank you very much. Very detailed presentation. We spent, I think, more time than foreseen, but we think that this is the core of this maybe Space Week, because we think that the description made by the European Commission itself is very, very important from our point of view, in order to give you as much as possible information regarding the work program, and to give you also more possibility to prepare good the proposal in case you are interested to do this. Fabio, just from my point of view, I think that is very important what you mentioned regarding the unrestricted access, the legal obligation, and also the export restriction that you have mentioned in one of your slides. I think very important to be taken into account when preparing the proposal. I think, and this is the question that I have for you, is the list of activities is something that has been jointly identified in the frame of JTF, the Joint Task Force with ADA and ESA. Is this still correct?
So yes, I mean, this is correct in a way that, okay, together with our coordination with ESA and the European Defence Agency, we have identified a list of what we call critical space technologies. That, of course, that is a list that at the moment is, identifying several tens of technologies. So it's a large number. And from our side, from the Commission side, we have given a prioritization of specific technologies, critical technologies, on the basis of the needs, the requirements, and the urgencies coming specifically from EU space missions and our political agenda in consideration of what dependencies. Therefore, that is the starting point. But then each of the three entities are eventually implementing the program based on the specificity of the organization. So that is a starting point, and also allow me to say that the technical guidance document will be, let's say, taking inspiration from the GTF, but the GTF list will not represent the technical guidance document, because we will have to make adjustment in order to fully reflect our EU space missions needs and urgency.
Okay, Fabio, thank you very much. And I was mentioning this because, again, I forgot to say during my first intervention that another important aspect of this Space Week from our point of view is also the fact that tomorrow we will have a presentation on ADF, the European Defence Fund. And so we have here also very high representative of our defense, and we think that maybe this is your last presentation is a good point to link the activity of related to space with that are included in Horizon Europe with other activities that are included in EDF. So tomorrow we will have a focus on EDF, and I think that this is the first time that we have this kind of presentation of both sides of the coin. So thank you, Fabio, thank you very much, and thank you also, Mavi, again. Okay, we have accumulated a very huge delay, but I think that this is quite important, at least from my point of view, to give you the floor for answer. In case you're interested to raise a question, please introduce yourself and try to be short as much as possible, because then we have another session, and otherwise the launch will become a dinner. So the floor is yours, and if you want, please raise your hand, and as I said, introduce yourself in order to allow us to understand which is your company or... So please do not be shy, and I don't know if, because I don't see anyone. Otherwise okay, I see one. The microphone is coming, okay, thank you.
Good.
Yes, this one.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Giovanni Martucci from REA. Would like to have a clarification, better a curiosity on the presentation of Ms. Dinseo, and in particular about the funding scheme that was presented at the end. So I would like to know whether about the 100% or lower percentage of funding as you presented, you are considering what in the space industries are, let's say, typically presented as the audited rates by ESA and ASI of industrial companies, or rather you are, as it was in the past, considering a standard rate that is defined by the Commission. I hope I was clear. If not, just ask. Thank you.
Funciona. No.
The mic?
Yeah.
Excellent. Thanks a lot for your question. So the rates that are referred to, obviously, you know that three types of activities are foreseen. research innovation action, which support the development of R&I activities from a very low TRL, innovation action for a more higher, let's say, TRL, and coordination and support action. So the funding rate of RIA and CSA is 100% of all costs. So Commission will fund 100% of all the costs incurred by the applicants, whilst the 70% rate will apply to the innovation action activities. Now, the specificities of the reimbursement scheme will be mentioned, will be detailedly explained in the work program, and it is always the situation has not changed. Please do refer to the information published on the participant portal, because this is where you will find the exact answer to your question.
Thank you, Maria Vittoria. Any other question? No, it does not seem the case. So, Valentina, I think that we can continue.
Yes. Thank you again to our speakers, and I take the opportunity to ask to Maria Vittoria to remain with us also for the next session, because we will speak about the EAC and the opportunity for SMEs, and I know there are some collaboration also for space, so maybe you can tell us something more about that. So. Now, just a technical question. We have a break, 15 minutes break, and then we will start again here with the second session. So you can find the coffee station and something to eat in the dining hall, and you have some indication outside the room. So thank you and see you very soon.
Hello, everybody. Is it working?
Yes, it's working.
I think that we are not all back from the coffee break, but in any case, I would like to welcome you in the second session of this event, of this day. Horizon Europe, New Challenges and Support is the title of the session. Just let me introduce myself. My name is Vaya Pitelli, and I work for Foundation for Research and Technology in Greece, the unit Praxi network, and I will be the moderator for this session. I would like to thank all the speakers of this session. We have with us again Mrs. Maria Vittoria Dinzeo and Valentina Fioroni, and we are also having with us Mr. Nicola Fantini and Mrs. Daniela Cena. Thank you all for participating in this session. And we will try to be quick and save some time. So just let me start with my presentation. I'm representing the Space NCP network, Cosmos for Horizon Europe, as a coordinator. You may have heard again from Cosmos. It has a long history, even from previous framework programs, integrated to the space national contact points community. This is the long phrase behind NCP. So now we are entering in a new phase for Horizon Europe with the new project. And we are supporting and organizing Space Week here in Rome. We have also done it before, so if it's not your first time here, you may know our network, and this is of course under our long-term collaboration with APRE, which is partner in Cosmos for a long time. let me give you some explanations about the national contact points for framework programs. Now we are in Horizon Europe, following Horizon 2020. The same structure, the same system is in place. So NCPs there are in member states, in associated countries, and also in third countries. National contact points are appointed for each program part, and now we have NCPs for Cluster 4, which includes digital, industry, and space thematic areas. And you can always find the suitable NCP in the Funding and Tenders Opportunities portal. Probably you are already in contact with the Italian NCPs, but we are let's say all over, and in Cosmos we have 15 partners from 15 countries. All of them are space NCP organizations. Regardless the size of the consortium, we are supporting and we are collaborating with all NCPs from all countries, those under Cluster 4 and specifically for space. The change, let's say, that you already know in Horizon Europe is that space now is part of a wider area, Cluster 4, Digital, Industry and Space, and Cosmos for Horizon Europe is one of the 3 Cluster 4 NCP networks. So we are supporting and we are collaborating with the space community and NCPs in the framework of Cluster 4. These are the other 2 Cluster 4 networks. NCP for Industry is about the industry thematic area, and Ideal is about the digital thematic area. All projects are continuations from previous projects and well-established networks. And now, in the framework of Cluster 4, we are building stronger collaborations with each other. And we will also have some common activities supporting the whole Cluster 4 goals. For the project Cosmos for Horizon Europe, which is in the starting phase, let's say, one objective is to increase the quality and support the harmonization of space NCP services. This is an indirect impact to applicants offering better services everywhere, but also we have services and activities for applicants and objectives targeting specifically to lower the entry barriers of newcomer applicants, to facilitate better participation of from widening countries, the so-called widening countries, or even to raise the quality of submitted proposals and increase the visibility of thematic area of space to wider audiences, potential participants in the program. So we have services for NCPs and services for applicants, trying to have discrete activities but also strong interconnections. Just briefly presenting the key activities and services for NCPs, for example, training activities, information materials and guides, and general support to NCPs, but more importantly for your interest, services and activities targeting applicants, for example, information events and matchmaking and networking events like the brokerage event hosted here later today, and the pitching sessions. And we will also offer some proposal support and information material and guides. And of course, we intend to be a source of information, disseminating important news from the European Commission and updates to the space community. So you can visit our website, and you can also follow us on social media. You can find the links to the website. We're in a starting phase. We had a gap during the transition phase between the two framework programs, but now we are starting with new activities. The Cluster 4 official information day will be announced soon, as far as I know. And under this framework, as Cosmos for Horizon Europe, we will organize an online brokerage event for the networking opportunities for space calls of 2023. So you can save the date for the 8th of December, and we will announce more in the next days. Also, the other Cluster 4 networks on digital and industry will organize such networking events, and these are also to be announced. Thank you very much for bearing with me these few minutes, and now I would like to ask Mrs. Valentina Fioroni to present her presentation on EIC, a gold mine of opportunities for SME. Mrs. Valentina Fioroni, probably you know her very well. She's a national contact point for EIC and also for Cluster 4 here in Italy for APRE.
Thank you, Vaya. Sorry, can I have the note? Thank you. Thank you. Yes, I'm Valentina Fioroni, and I'm the national contact point for Cluster 4 and also for the European Innovation Council in Horizon Europe. Indeed, today I'm here with this second hat to explain you something about the opportunity mainly for small and medium enterprises, but also for other actors that can benefit from the opportunity in the European Innovation Council. The European Innovation Council, just to have an overview of where we are in Horizon Europe, has been established with a budget of more than 10 billion euros for the whole program, so until 2027. To support small and medium enterprises with high potential, but also with high risk to implement and to commercialize their innovation. The focus in this pillar, we are in Pillar 3, in the Innovative Europe, is to stimulate and promote the development of breakthrough innovation, so to create an ecosystem and to support the innovation also by cross-cutting collaboration between multiple actors like academia, public sector, industry, and also individual entrepreneurs. The EIC provide financial support in terms of grants, but also in equity investment and business acceleration services as collateral activities to the beneficiary of this instrument. The EIC instrument is divided in three different schemes of opportunities. We have the EIC Pathfinder that is more dedicated to turn the excellent science to breakthrough technology and then to disruptive innovation. Then we have the second stage of the EIC transition, that is another scheme that go from a breakthrough technology to disruptive innovation. And the last scheme is the EIC Accelerator, from disruptive innovation to scalable business. These three schemes offer opportunities in terms of open calls, so we can consider to apply with the bottom-up approach. So this means that the Commission didn't fix a specific priority, but leave the beneficiary to apply in any fields of science and technology. But have also a top-down approach, so it means that some calls refers to specific challenges in which the Commission specify the priority and the field to apply. Just to have an overview, and then we go straight to the point on each instrument. The Pathfinder is dedicated mainly to early stage research, with activity on early stage research on breakthrough technology. Transition is dedicated to the maturation of technology from proof of concept to the validation. And the ESC Accelerator is the last scheme dedicated mainly to the development and scale up of technology and disruptive innovation dedicated to startups and SMEs. The business acceleration services are services that support the beneficiary of the EAC instrument with tailor-made services, for example, to access to coaching, mentoring and training services, to access to cooperation, to facilitate the cooperation with international partners, and also to access to innovation ecosystem within the European Innovation Council community. So there are tailor-made services specific for the beneficiary. Just to compare the EAC in terms of TRL, technology readiness level, we can consider Pathfinder in the first stage of exploration, so projects that go from TRL1, so the observation of basic principle, to TRL5, so technology validated in laboratory. The second stage is the transition, so in the stage of exploitation, so from TRL4 to TRL6, so from the proof of concept to the validation of the and demonstration of the technology in relevant environment. And the last phase is this EAC accelerator, so the scale-up phase, that go from TRL6 to TRL8, if we consider the grant component, and up to TRL9 for the equity component. More in detail about this three schemes. EAC Pathfinder is dedicated to realize ambitious vision for radical new technology. As I told you, technology based on high risk, high gain. The research must provide the foundation of the technology you are thinking. In EAC Pathfinder, but also in transition and in the accelerator, we have, as I told you, open the possibility to apply as a open, so with a bottom-up approach. So the Commission don't fix some thematic priority. In the challenges, we can have a top-down approach with where the Commission specify the objective and the thematics to which apply. Who can apply for DAC Pathfinder? Consortia, but also single legal entity. In case of consortia, they have to include at least 2 independent legal entities. Consortia of 2 must have independent legal entity from 2 different member states or associated country. Consortia of 3 or above follow the standard rules of Horizon 2020. So at least one legal, Horizon Europe. At least one legal entity must be from a member state, and at least 2 other independent legal entities, each established from different member state or associated country. When we speak about legal entity, we speak about all type of legal entity that are eligible. In case of single entity, only mid-caps and larger company will not apply to this scheme. The support that you can receive is in terms of grant, in the form, in the type of action of research and innovation action. So we mean 100% of reimbursement rate for project that request an EU contribution up to 4 million. The EAC transition is, as I told you, the second scheme in the European Innovation Council. When we speak about transition, we have to speak about a transition to technology, a transition to market, and also a transition to entrepreneurship. So, transition to technology because we have to reach the result of TRL 5/6. So, a mature technology, a transition to market for projects led by SME and startup with an interest to reach the market, but also a transition in terms of entrepreneurship. Many research projects produce also side results with higher TRL level that can be quickly commercialized. Why the EAC transition? The EAC transition, as I told you, support the maturation and validation of novel technology, so from the proof of concept to the demonstration and validation in real environment, with open funding, but also challenges funding. Who can apply? In this case, only the results from Horizon 2020 FET scheme and EAC pilot, ERNET and FET flagship or ERC proof of concept can apply to the transition. Is something, it's not needed that you are the beneficiary of this project, but it's needed that you have the rights to use the result of this project to apply to the transition. The financial contribution is up to 2.5 million euro from the Commission. You can also receive more grants, up to 5,000 euro for the portfolio activities. The starting point in this case is from working prototype to the technology demonstrated and tested in real environment. Mono-beneficiary and also multi-beneficiary can apply. In case of mono-beneficiary, only SMEs can apply, no larger company, but also research organization like university, research and or technology organization, and also principal investigator. In terms of multi-beneficiary, consortia from 2 to maximum 5 legal entity, but in this case, large companies are allowed to participate. The last scheme is the EAC Accelerator, is dedicated to startups and SMEs. With the aim to scale up technology and innovation with high impact with the potential to create a new market. New market. When we speak about innovation, we speak about breakthrough innovation and deep tech innovation. In this case, only mono-beneficiary can apply, single SMEs, so with a limit of maximum 250 employees, but also natural person that will to set up an SME. So natural person that would like to apply also have to create an SMEs established in one of the EU countries. Also, small mid-caps can apply, but only for the investment component. Which support you can receive with the EAC Accelerator? The blended finance that is composed by the grant and investment, The grant component is for to develop the innovation up to TRL 8, and the investment component is needed to cover the scale up of the innovation up to TRL 9. Or you can also ask for grant only. So this means that you have sufficient measure to develop your innovation and scale up your innovation up to TRL 9. So the grant cover only activities up to TRL 8. You can apply also for investment only, but only if you are a small mid-cap. You can ask also for grant first if your innovation still requires significant work to validate and demonstrate in relevant environment before access the commercialization. The investment component is up to 15 million euro, usually in the form of direct equity or quasi-equity. And the grant component is maximum of 2.5 million with a reimbursement rate of 70% because it's an innovation action. Just to conclude, I would like to raise your attention in access to EAC network. That is the network dedicated to the EAC NCPs. Is a network coordinated by APRE, in which we, with our colleagues all around Europe, provide support also to our clients in terms of creating some tools to be useful for our potential applicants. So if you have some question about this, I'm happy to reply to you. So this is basically my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Valentina. I think that Mrs. Maria Vittoria Dinzeo would like to intervene at this point.
Thank you. Mike, please. Yes, thanks a lot. Very, very quickly, I don't have any presentation, but I'm very glad that Valentina made this very thorough presentation on the EIC, European Innovation Council, because there are many opportunities that come from the Pillar 3 of Horizon. And as you might have, well, hopefully some of you have already applied to any of the instruments foreseen under the European Innovation Council, be it Pathfinder, Transition, or Accelerator. We know that as part of the 2021 work program, so the difference between the EIC work program and our work program in Cluster 4 is that EIC has annual work programs. So it means that every year there is an adoption foreseen, and every year there are the so-called open topic, open call, or the challenge, which is what it specifically refers, whereby there is a specific focus on dedicated activities that change on an annual basis. So in the Work Program 22, EIC Work Program 22, we already had the very first challenge-driven call as part of the Accelerator instrument, so the one targeting higher TRL projects. It was a topic dedicated to strategic technologies, basically, and as part of the areas identified, there was technologies for space, both technologies and services and applications, so both upstream and downstream projects were foreseen. Why did I want to take the floor? To anticipate also the future. So in more or less towards the same time as foreseen for the adoption of our work program, so towards end of this month, end of November to beginning of December, the adoption of the EIC 2023 work program is foreseen. And we have added, because we have established a very close collaboration between our DG DEFI, in charge of space activities, and the European Innovation Council. And we managed to have new challenge-driven calls, this time dedicated to space, not only for the accelerator call, but also for the Pathfinder instrument. So please do also consider this opportunity under the EIC 2023 work program. There will be a dedicated call under the Pathfinder, a challenge. It's called the EIC Pathfinder Challenge, focusing on in-space solar energy harvesting for innovative space application, thereby addressing in-space mobility, decommission of satellite, innovative green propulsion solution, and so on. So this is for the Pathfinder. Well, I don't target in a very lower TRL. But there is also going to be a new accelerator topic, challenge, focusing on customer-driven innovative space technologies and services. So again, as Valentina was saying, accelerator looks into more closer to the market activities. So that's why here we have stressed the focus on customer-driven solution and technologies and services. It has a quite broad focus on space technology, space debris, and so on. Why it's this topic very important for you? Because really the transition, if you want, the European Innovation Council makes the link with many of the instruments that we have under the Cluster 4 program and under the activities that I already presented and that I will continue to present tomorrow, in particular on the Cassini Entrepreneurship Initiative and in-orbit demonstration and validation. So we have tried to close the gap so that projects and technologies that are funded under EIC and under the Cluster 4 can have also, let's say, some sort of a fast-track access to our to our other initiative like Cassini and IOD-IOV. So voila, just to anticipate also new opportunities for the community. I think it's the instrument, the opportunities under EIC are very important. It's all for me. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. Valentina, would you like to add something?
No, just to thank you, Maria Vittoria, to add something about this new opportunity in the next few years.
Yeah, in the next year, actually.
Yes.
Just in 23, because obviously the idea of this collaboration with EIC is to be able to have regular calls under each work program. So we started in 21, we are continuing it in 23, but we would like to have also in the upcoming work program. So keep your eyes open. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Maria Vittoria. And now I would like to give the floor to Mr. Nicola Fantini, coordinator of EN-ELSE from CNR. And his presentation is the EN Consortium Expectation from Synergies with EIC.
Good morning, everyone. First of all, I would like to greet you using my mother tongue. Grazie per essere qui davvero. Sono momenti molto belli che fanno crescere la nostra comunità di ricerca e innovazione e a supporto della imprenditoria nazionale. Grazie davvero. I would like to thank the Italian Space Agency for the hospitality and above all for the fundamental contribution and generosity toward all the people who in Italy deal with the space and its impacts on knowledge, research, innovation, economy, institutions and citizens. Furthermore, I would like to thank APRE, the engine of such an important initiative, helping us to look beyond our horizon. My 7 minutes presentation, it will be a journey, particularly focused on the collaboration between the Enterprise Europe Network, EN, and EIC. As you can see, the speaker is a bearded middle-aged man whose main commitment is to be the father of a 12-year-old girl and who survives thanks to the coordination of an extraordinary wife. The other, less important roles are the coordination of the EN network and being a member of the board of directors of the National Research Council of Italy. EN represents for me an immersive European experience, an opportunity to make the small and medium enterprises perceive the presence of the European community at their side. Perception that together with my consortium, I try to convey to our clients in the Lazio and Sardinia regions. Thanks to the blue partners, supporting SMEs for the development of innovative products starting from research activities, the orange partners, the regional agencies for innovation, the green partners, business organizations, and APRE, our rainbow partner, NCP, consortium partner, and EAC project coordinator. The title of my presentation is an invitation to analyze EN's perception of the potential of a collaboration with EIC. My friend APRE, Claudio Testani, and I have probably made a mistake by focusing on the relationship between the EN network and EIC. We should have focused on our SMEs, our clients' expectation from EN-EIC synergies. I propose to all of you to continue the presentation starting from the blue question. One of the possible approaches for business service organization is to take the client, to acquire the client, to take the ownership of the client. This approach makes service providers become competitors. This has exactly not a positive effect on the client, who has to make a choice in the same region between services of comparable level or apparently comparable level. The effect is even less positive if public structures, networks, in particular European ones, compete with each other. In this case, the client's most frequent question is, do you collaborate? Are you different? Are you the same thing? Are you the same network? We cannot indeed confuse our client. We must not compete with organizations, public and private ones, which is in the reference area, provide SMEs with the internationalization, innovation, and access to finance support services. As European networks, our task is facilitating the client to face a journey whose stages are experiences guided by the organization most suitable for providing a specific type of services. The boundary condition for designing effective journeys for our clients, that means small and medium enterprises, but also research teams, is to make an alliance in our regions between the organizations providing internationalization, innovation, and access to finance services. One of the main mandates for the EN network for the period 2022-2025 is to create an hub-and-spoke community in which the organizations, above-mentioned organization, recognize themselves as a part of a system committed to produce more opportunities for SMEs and ensuring better results for their service providers as well. I know what you are thinking. Who is this bearded, middle-aged, crazy dreamer? I'm aware that I am a little crazy. But I have also a deep experience of that. All of this is possible. Difficult, sometimes very difficult, but possible. I did experience it in my EN consortium. I have been experimenting it on the regional territory now. dear friends, we are no longer in 2019. We are in the middle of a crisis full of challenges that can be overcome if all the SMEs supporting actors collaborate with each other, according to a model based on territorial rather than individual competition. In this way, we will be able to actually produce and record effective impacts. Now, I would like to focus my attention on the DAC relationship. Through the hub and spoke community, Ian engages the client and supports him with an expert advisor who follows him or her throughout the journey. This advisor, we call this advisor the local hub. The local hub designs a journey together with the client based on full knowledge of the client and her needs. The local hub defines an action plan shared with the client, highlighting the different stages of the journey in terms of services. The local hub facilitates the multiplication of opportunities in terms of projects, participation in EU program, and in terms of business and access to finance through a consolidated matching system. The local hub evaluates the client's level of innovation in terms of strategy, culture, process cycles, enabling factors, and revenues. Once the client is fully aware of his needs to manage its innovation capacity, the local hub accompanies him to EIC in order to accelerate the innovation process initiated and funded by the entrepreneur with his own resources or also with non-specific projects, giving him or her the opportunity to consolidate his company through specific investment paths. In a few words, we need to be a community which provides services to SMEs and research teams. We need to make this community sustainable in the future and directly managed by our SMEs, our clients, who can become in the future the mentor for other entrepreneurs and other research teams. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nicola. And now we are moving to the last presentation of this session, and I would like to give the floor to Mrs. Daniela Cena, who is representing Simone Sparano as chairman in Enterprise Europe Network Space and Defense Sector Group. The title of the presentation is the New Aeronautic Space and Defense EN Sector Group and Synergies with NCP Networks.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Of course, as you can see, I'm not Simone. I'm representing him because he was called to be in another meeting, so he asked me to step on in his place. Because I'm also a member of the same sector group where he is a chairman. Nicola already introduced something about Enterprise Europe Network that was a more philosophical and vision about the approach the Enterprise Europe Network has towards the main clients, which are companies, research centers, in order to help them to participate in EU calls. I'm Daniela Cena. I'm from the Turin Chamber of Commerce, and also an antenna of APRE in my region in Piedmont, and a member of Enterprise Europe Network. So I will go a little bit deeper into the way the Enterprise Europe Network works to give the support to participants to the EU programs. This one. So the Enterprise Europe Network, for those who already don't know it, it's it's the largest world network created by the European Community to support enterprises and researchers and innovators to become more competitive internationally. It is very huge, as you can see from the map. It covers not only Europe, but about 60 countries in the world through associated members from countries which are not part of the European Union, with more than 3,000 local experts and 600 organizations like, for example, chambers of commerce, universities, innovation agency, and we can say support organization, which gives services to enterprises to become more competitive. The Enterprise Europe Network is, first of all, a network of organizations, of people who work for the same objective, and who work through strict connections to exchange, to give opportunities of networking. One of the, let's say, the tools that are used by the Enterprise Europe Network are the sector groups. A sector group is a subgroup of partners who work about a specific focus. So the sector group members meet and exchange, in particular focusing on these the goals, maybe the goals and the objectives of a specific industry. So no, this one. There are 17 sector groups, strategics, as you can see, on different industrial sectors. And we are now today here representing the aerospace, aeronautics and space sector group, which in the last few years also added defense to its focus themes. This sector group, aeronautics and space and defense, brings together 34 experts covering 13 member states in the European Union. And all the members have specific links to the aerospace industry in the regions, so they can give advice and they can give also opportunities of networking and exchanges and finding partners and finding links to enhance the competitiveness of the industry. As Nicola already explained, the hub-and-spoke model, that is the new, let's say, the new way of working of the Enterprise Europe Network in this new framework program period. The sector group have a leading role in playing as a linking point to between the spokes, the hub and the spokes, which are the main reference points for companies. The main priorities of the sector group is, of course, to help companies and R&I subjects to find partners abroad, to build consortia, to participate in the calls, and also to facilitate the technological exchanges, technological transfer between companies and research organizations, organizing events to give information about the call, like today, to promote also matchmaking events, often, I would say, maybe always with in collaboration with other networks like the NCPs network, and in general to promote cooperation and connections between the companies and other subjects interested. So the main principle is the no wrong door, as Nicola already introduced before. One company willing to find partners, to find opportunities, to know how to work internationally with other entities, should know that it can approach any of these subjects. The support business organizations like we are and like NCPs and other networks are there to help them. So they can be, in any case, a point of access to a network that is much more wider and can support them through synergies and through collaboration and through exchange of informations. So EN and NCP already did in the past, and they will furthermore in the future work together to be both at the service of companies for this purpose. What can we do? Both we can together give information, give assistance, and organize joint events and help them to find partners in the more efficient way. Just not to repeat, it's the synergies is the main keyword in this case, and so the local ecosystem must be put in contact with all actors which help them to foster competition, foster competitiveness in this in this journey that is internationalization. And also, of course, I did also the link with clusters and cluster organizations, which are our also interface to the companies in the sector. These are the contacts that Simone is chairman of the sector group, European sector group, so he is also reachable through the email, and me too, I'm at your disposal if you need more information. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniela. We are closing this session, but we could have a few minutes with questions, if there is any question from the audience. I don't see any hand raised. So if there is no question, then we can close this session. Thank you all very much for your participation and contribution. And as far as I know, lunch follows.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.